Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to my Dune Awakening content. So it's been magical, not gonna lie. Some of the content creators that released all that content yesterday, it's been a smorgasbord of information. I've been absorbing it all, trying to pull out the nuggets of the best information to report to you as you get excited and prepared and get ready to hopefully take part in the beta event that's coming up the 9th through the 12th. But one thing I'm going to go ahead and go over again, and let me get to my Dune Awakening playlist so I can show you what I'm talking about. I can't believe I'm already going to have to revise some of my content based on what I've figured out from watching these videos, but this one right here, a video that I made 2 weeks ago, it was Dune Awakening, the best starting skill, and I was talking in that video about my plans for first steps as we first take our first steps out in the world of Arrakis. The plan that I thought was the smartest based on the things that you're going to need to do. I laid out what I thought was the best starting class and some of the best starting skills. Well, I'm going to have to remake that video now because I've found some information out that is just too good to ignore, and I think that what I saw was right on the money, and I'm going to have to change. I'm going to have to pivot from my original theory, and I'm going to have to adopt this, what I'm going to talk to you about today, as my new theory about what is the best starting class to start the game with. So if you like this content today and you found this interesting or entertaining when we're done, I'd appreciate it if you think about subscribing to my channel. I have a huge milestone that I'm trying to reach. I'm trying to reach 5,000 subscribers. That's my first real big goal for the channel, and I would really appreciate it if you'd help me get there. Like the video so that it can be pushed out to a bigger audience and that we can, expand the player base for Dune Awakening and help Funcom do as good as they can. And if you like the content, then think about hitting that notification bell so that you don't miss any content I make in the future on Dune Awakening. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's talk about what I now think, revised content, what I now think is the best starting skills and class in the game. And I'm going to kind of lay it out to you as to why I think that's a thing. So if you remember in my previous video that I was talking about earlier, where I talked about what I thought was the best starting skill and the best starting class, you'll remember that I said that I had a feeling that the Trooper was going to be the best starting class, and it was going to be mainly because of movement utility. The Shigawire skill that the Trooper starts with looked like it was just going to be amazing for traversing. It was going to help you get to those high elevations. It was going to help you get across those little gorges that you can't jump over. It was going to help you to pull enemies towards you, get away from enemies chasing you, and all kinds of things. Help you access those little hidden chests that are spotted all over the world and access secret locations that you find with your mapping functions. The Shigawire skill looked like it was just going to be something that at the start you just could not pass up. You almost had to have if you wanted to get a really good start at the beginning of the game, push through the early game content so that you could then move on to the more advanced areas and get out of the newbie zones and get out of the newbie rush. While I thought that that sounded like the smartest thing at the start, based on new information that I saw yesterday, I think I need to revise that. And it is because there are class trainers in the world that will allow you to learn all the different, what they call archetypes. You've got Trooper, you've got Mentat, you've got Bene Gesserit, you've got Planetologist, you've got Swordsman, and you will have to start as one of them because during the character creation selection path you choose one of them to start with, which means that you will end up with a certain set of skills at the beginning of the game. Then you go out into the world and you explore. And through the process of exploring, you will find other trainers, other NPC mentors that will ask you to do some tasks for them. After you do a couple quest lines, pretty quick, pretty easy, cut and dry, they will then reward you by unlocking you the ability to learn the skills in that path that they are a mentor for. That's where some of the really strategic thought comes in. And I had kind of wondered this before. Whenever I made my last video, I had thought to myself, I wonder how hard some of the classes are going to be to unlock versus the others, because that could ultimately sway your choice at the beginning if there was a great advantage to choosing one or the other based on location of being able to find them or how difficult. Well, that's where this information was key, because as we've learned, as you see in this screenshot right here, one of the first trading posts that you encounter in the game when you actually get control of your character after the initial hour-long tutorial is this area right here, and it's like right at the starting zone, right where you pop in. So this is going to be one of the first places that you actually interact with NPCs and start to pick up quests and start to do things. And this right here is a picture of the Trooper Trainer. The Trooper Trainer is right at the start of the game in the starting zone in the easiest content, and it's one of the first ones that you have the ability to unlock. So, if we're thinking logically here, the logical person would say, if I can get this one right off the bat, and that's going to be the first one that I actually have the ability to unlock, and it's fairly easy to do, then maybe I should not start at that class. Maybe I should start as one that is ultimately harder to unlock. So that's where the choice comes in. The archetypes that have been displayed to us and described to us as the hardest to achieve at the very start and 20-30 hours into your playtime is the swordsman and the Bene Gesserit. And the reason why is not because their quest lines are so difficult or anything like that, but it's because that their quest givers are located farther into the content that you do not have the ability to access until you've actually played for a little while, gotten used to the combat system, leveled up a little bit to where you are stronger, have some better gear, and then you can go face the enemies that are in that area and be able to survive. The Bene Gesserit and the swordsman are locked in kind of a tier 4 type area, the way it's been described. So obviously you'd start at tier 1. In the area that you're at the start, the enemies are easy. It's no big deal. You're just running around gathering some rocks. You're learning how to build. You're learning how to make a still suit. You're learning how to craft, survive, stay out of the sun. But as you progress into the story and as you progress into the leveling of your character, you'll find that you move into different areas where the content gets harder, the resources get better, but the survival is tougher, because when you go to face these enemies at these little NPC locations to kill the AI controlled enemies and get their loot and all that stuff, those enemies are going to be very much harder to kill. In a tier 4 area, those are not starter friendly. So you will, if you were to start and then run straight to those areas, if you could get there without getting eaten by the sandworm or dying to, NPCs or whatever, you would find that you would not be able to survive those areas. So those areas are locked behind some progression that you're going to have to pursue. So the smartest thing to do, in my opinion, is to choose the Swordmaster or the Bene Gesserit, because if those are the two hardest archetypes to be able to get to and unlock, then pick one at the start and boom, you've got yourself an advantage. You've got yourself a leg up, because you now have unlocked one of the toughest classes to initially get, which they both have some really amazing abilities. Now what you do is, as you're playing as the Bene Gesserit or the Swordmaster, then you go straight to this trading post and you get this guy and you unlock a trooper. The trooper will give you the ability to have that Shigarwire skill. So now you have the ability to combine and kind of you have the ability to combine and kind of form your own build. You can use some of the Swordmaster skills like the knee charge, and that's kind of a dash and a movement skill that could be combined then with the Shigarwire at that point, to where you could dash into the Shigarwire and just traverse like a madman. Now the Bene Gesserit skill set is also really cool, because the Bene Gesserit skill set has a fast running ability, kind of like a sprint skill, that allows you to really bolt across the desert for long periods of time. You could combine that skill with your trooper Shigarwire, and man, you're really talking about getting some traversal at that point. So that's kind of why the mentality that I've had around changing my mindset on this, because I want to have one of the best starts that I can at the beginning of the game. Obviously, when we get into testing, hopefully for this testing weekend that's coming up on the 9th, 10th, and 11th, we'll be able to get in and see what it's like in the starting zone, where some of these trainers are located, and then we can kind of formulate a game plan, you know, as far as I go here, I unlock this, I go to stage 2, I unlock this, I go here, I unlock that, and then boom, we can have all the options available for us for making our personal character builds that we love. So I think that's why I'm going to change my strategy, and I'm going to say I think that you pass on the trooper at the start and you go for either the Swordmaster or the Bene Gesserit. Me personally, I'm going to make the choice, and this was a tough choice, I'm not going to lie, because as I got to look at the skills of each, the Swordmaster and the Bene Gesserit, they're both great. They both look like they're going to be super fun. That knee charge was hard to pass up, I'm not going to lie, but I think I'm going to go with the Bene Gesserit at the start, because I think that's going to really help me to defeat enemies when I can control them, and then, you know, kind of do my movement skills and do what I want and attack them at my leisure type of thing. And I really think that that Bene Gesserit path is going to be something that's going to be ultimately fun for me as well. But I am going to go right for Trooper first thing out of the gate. I'm not going to do anything else. I'm going to go straight for this guy. I'm going to unlock the Trooper, and then I'm going to have access to the Bene Gesserit and the Shigarwire skill in my own personal build that I make. So I hope you've liked this content. If you agree, let me know in the comments what you think. If you think that's a smart plan, let me know. If you think it's not a smart plan, let me know. I want to hear what you have to say. If you think it's better to do something different that you have devised, let's talk about it, because I would really love to pick you guys' brain and hear what you think about this. Because I'm the type of person that when I play these kind of games, I'm all about efficiency. Efficiency is key for me. I love to be that guy that gets ahead of everybody else because I've made a game plan and I've thought about it and I've acted on it. And I think that's really cool to be able to have those kind of feelings in these games, because I mean, what else do we got? We got to flex somehow when you're playing MMOs, so you can flex and say, hey, I did this, you know, type of thing. And I love that in these kind of games. It's really fun. So thank you for watching my content. I really appreciate you. I hope that you've enjoyed this, and I will see you in another video about Dune Awakening coming soon. Probably going to be a build video, that's what I'm saying. Peace.